Recording. Hello, hello, and welcome. It's hair day for me, and I wasn't going to reschedule because I rescheduled on you guys last week because I was on vacation. This is what's happening. We're going the livest of lives, and you get all three of us in one little package. So there's that to start. Also, we get to go over contracts today as a group, which I'm super excited about because I am super passionate about having really rock solid contracts. And we're going to talk about why. I'm going to have them kind of chime in a little bit about how it's saved their ass a couple times. And actually, we just had a situation last week where contracts really saved the fucking day. Okay. So we're going to get into that too. But first, I just want to kind of give a little overview of what are we what are we even doing with the contract, right? I feel like a lot of times people have this misconceived kind of notion that the contract is too formal or it's icky or gross or it's only there to protect the actual salon and the client's going to get fucked over. So that is not what this is. I just want to make that very clear right off the bat. These contracts are in place to help protect both people in this. This is not some kind of business power move where you're whipping your dick out to people. This is literally just hey, these are the parameters. This is the expectations both for me and for you. So it just really makes that clear. On top of the fact that this is going to set the stage and just let your client know that if it is a situation where maybe this person was hoping to get something for free or hoping to pull some kind of bullshit, the second you pull out a contract and you're okay, hey, here's my client agreement form, we'll just go over that first. It sets a tone, right? So you're immediately going to derail some of those shitbaggier people just by having a contract in place, whether it's Loctite or whether it's just kind of willy-nilly. So there's that to kind of start with. But let's go over why contracts even matter. First of all, I want to let you know that it's not mean it's clear. Okay. So I think that's the thing that a lot of people get in their head about is if I start talking about, you may move. You do this.
That's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Welcome. If you need to communicate that you have a contract or something, it gets this icky kind of feeling, right? Like we just talked about. So the last thing I want to go on with these contracts is you to feel like they're so like in a box that you can't actually communicate with them. And it should be just as much of a thing that your client feels really protected than as much as it is for you. So on the stylist side, we need to have really clear policies written out and addressed so that it's a less emotional labor for you to have to communicate all those policies. The last thing you want is to be oh, and remember X, Y, and Z every time, right? So if you just have that as part of your general contract that, hey, if you're 10 minutes late, it equals this kind of thing, X equals Y because of Z. Done. It's in the contract. We also have a little card that we give to everybody that just cutely communicates our policies so that if, for instance, their first maintenance, they're 30 minutes late and try to be well, my cat had a heart attack and I had to take him to the cat doctor. You're right, cool. I have other people, Debbie, so being able to have that standard just to be yeah, cool, understand. However, here's this. Now, because we're humans, right? We're also going to be able to decide when we want to enforce these policies and when we don't. But that's up to you. If you have it on paper, if you have it there, they can't be pissed when you're hey, this is my policy, and use your best judgment to decide when you want to put this in or out. Right. But if you don't have it on paper, you don't talk about it, you don't give them any option. And then all of a sudden they show up 45 minutes late and you're the fuck, Debbie, where have you been? And she's oh, sorry, my car broke down and the wheel actually came through the neighbor's house, whatever. Okay, how are you going to stand up to that? Right. So make sure you have that written and clear. This also is going to cover cancellations, no shows, late arrivals. What happens on payment schedule? What's that going to look like? What kind of damages do you cover or not cover? These are things that should be in your contracts that explicitly write out. So, for instance, in hours, which is going to tie into our conversation later, um, if a client fails to do something in home maintenance and that results in damages to the piece, guess who's not buying a new piece? However, if it's something where the actual like product did not hold up to standard, absolutely. Like, let me take care of that for you. But if you just didn't brush your hair for 6 to 8 weeks and you come back being like, hey, this is matted, the fuck, baby girl, that's not my problem. That's a you problem, not a me problem. So now you get to buy new wefts off the wall. I'm not just going to include those. Okay. But also, this goes back to communication. You need to communicate what is necessary. Okay. So, on the client's side, this is where it makes good sense for them because we're going to tell them what they should expect from us. So in my contract, it talks about like clear pricing that I will not nickel and dime for any kind of things like that. But there's also lots of transparency in that, that like this is what you can expect from us, and this is what we will provide you. So contracts aren't cold. They're not supposed to be something that is like basically fucking over your client and keeping you in the safe. Like this is safety for both sides. If anybody has any questions about contracts, Jen, if you want to pop into the chat or unmute yourself at any point in time to ask any questions, please let me know. Okay, so moving on to our next little bit, I want to go over like the anatomy of a contract and what a contract really has in it, because the last thing we want is some kind of like cut and paste situation or just this like basic little tiny thing. Now, will having a basic little tiny thing deter some of the shit bags that we talked about in the beginning? Absolutely. Love that for us, right? It's going to be a little blanket statement. However, really being able to get in there is going to give you the best situation. This is going to protect you in the case of a chargeback, or if a client tries to pretend like they weren't even at your salon. Okay. I also am really adamant about pictures, pictures, pictures. Take pictures of everything. Your new installs, you should have before and after pictures to prove that they were there. Those are going to be time stamped, whether they be in your phone or an actual camera. That's just going to prove that they were there on the day that you gave the service. Because if they try to dispute that service with their credit card company, the only thing that they can really dispute is that they weren't there and they didn't get the service that they like were charged for. So if you have pictures that's like, well, I have time stamped before and afters, then if it's just they don't like their install, that's not the credit card company's problem, right? However, if they try to take that and you have that in your contract as well, now they're really like, get out. Okay. So in our contract, we go over like payment terms and deposits first. I want the price to be clear. I want them to know that the deposit is 50% and the other half is due on the day of at like this time at the close of the appointment. Okay. All that is going to be very clear language. That way, like I said, if something goes wrong or whatever, you have that in writing that those were the expectations they signed. Cancellation and rescheduling is going to be the next thing that we like touch base on big in that contract. What happens if they need to cancel? Let's face facts, right? Like humans are humans and shit happens. So, what if, per se, this was real life situation? We had a client that she scheduled her new appointment. It was like 8 weeks out. She was so excited. Literally the week before her appointment, she calls me and she was like, so I fell down the stairs and broke my legs. We were like, what? She had broken like a bone in her leg and she was like, I literally can't like I'm basically bedbound. And we were like, damn, okay, so you're definitely not coming in next week. So per our contract, if there's a extenuant like a thing, right? A holy shit thing, we allow our guests to postpone their appointment one time. Just once. After that, if they just keep pushing it out further and further and further, chances are they probably just don't have the money to like do that, and they probably shouldn't be doing the things that they're doing anyway, or it's just a red flag, right? So one time, and then after that, they forfeit their deposit. That comes to us. it's not a renewable deposit, right? So that's in writing. The reschedule kind of thing is in there too, very detailed. And I can put a copy of my contract in our group and you can kind of see what that looks like. I highly recommend working with a lawyer in your state to be able to make sure that that contract is lock solid for your state laws and regulations and all of those things. The next thing we're going to talk about in that contract that that guest is going to initial after every single one of these clauses is the maintenance and follow-up policy. So what does maintenance look like? What are they contractually obligated to do or not do? So in this is going to be their home care. We have a separate PDF file that gives them a detailed instructions on everything that they need to do home care wise, right? So like I said earlier, if you fail to do the home care, and your hair gets fucked up, not my problem. So it dictates that out. Maintenance is also one of those things. If I tell you that you need to come back at 6 weeks, we schedule you that appointment. Also, I pre-book everyone. We schedule that appointment, you don't show up, and then you push your appointment out until like the 12-week mark, and then you come in finally and wonder why you have damage. Baby girl, it's because you canceled your appointment 42 times. Okay. So that's the other thing. We're going to make sure like this is our maintenance policy. Who's in charge of scheduling maintenance? All that's going to be worded out explicitly too. I also have a model and photography release inside my contract as well. So the model side of things basically has permission that they get a 50% discount for being a model. It's like written in there. It also says that as a model case study, they agree that their work might not be great and they understand that. So, for instance, when we're trying a new method, when we're doing something out like that, we have a Haley's getting ready to take new extension guests. Whoop, whoop. All of them are going to sign that model agreement, specifically stating they know that a stylist is learning on them, and that dictates out what to do if they have issues. So, let's just say Haley has a new client. She does a row and they have, uncomfortable experience with their row. Per that contract, it says that they have to contact her within, I believe it's 24 hours of like realizing that it's uncomfortable so that she has a chance to rectify it, help them guide what could be the issue, whatever, right? Because the last thing I want is for them to go the entire time with something that's uncomfortable, come back and be like, this fucked my hair up. Yeah, you were supposed to communicate. Okay. So that's a big thing too. Communication terms are listed out in there explicitly so that that model knows that the stylist is learning, whether that be me, whether that be Haley, who the fuck else, who cares? Learning equals there could be some things that don't go right. So we want to make sure that's there. It also has a defamation clause that says you can't come here, get one, bad thing and then go blast our ass on social media. No, you have to give us like just a bit availability to try to fix the situation. And it helps protect against that as well. The health and safety disclaimers that I have within mine kind of fall back into the home maintenance kind of plans and just things that it's like, hey, if this goes wrong, you're going to do that. But we also have like the salon culture standards that are kind of in there too, like respecting our time, and those are kind of built into our policies. So that's all dictated pretty in detail. Let's see. Da, da, da. As far as communicating these contracts, because I think that's a big one. Uh, you guys know I say it all the time. If you make it weird, it's gonna be weird. So when you're checking anybody out or doing everything, I make everyone sign my contract first because I have a like card release on there that says I can run your card without you present, right? So I can't take their deposit and then have them sign the contract. That would be counterintuitive. So they sign the contract first, and then that leads into the invoice, or after that, I can run their card. So with that kind of being there, I literally just like word it as great. I'd love to get you on the book. Hey, here in a second, after we get off the phone, you're going to see my contract and invoice come through via the email that you decided, or if they'd rather have it texted, whatever, right? I'm going to send that over. The contract's going to come up first. There'll be a little blue link that says pay here. You can do that after you sign the contract. Uh, Done. Perfect. If you have any questions over that, just let me know. Please read through it. It's worded in a readable format. I worked with my lawyer so that things could be legal, but also understandable to anybody. So it's not in legal jargon because that's annoying, right? So it says the same things, but we use synonyms. Anyway, it literally is just that quick of a conversation, but communicating those expectations of what you expect them to do first is going to really hold that standard. Because, like we said, like if there's somebody who isn't willing to do your policies, isn't willing to respect that time and that energy, they're probably not a great client for you. Next, how to build trust and loyalty within your contract experience. Because listen, luxury clients expect luxury professional processes. Okay. So if you're sitting here and like having a luxury salon environment, chances are none of the clients that you work with are going to be shocked that you have a contract. Like, I don't think I've ever gone to like a esthetician and not had to sign a release before. You know what I mean? Like there's paperwork for things like that. So especially in the hair loss sector of things, making sure that like any hair loss that they have previously to coming in isn't tried to be blamed on you, or any kind of like active shed that they have. You want to document that. So you have that there, have a clause that states like, if this gets worse, I'm going to be the one to say like, hey, these are things you can work into this contract, and it can really be whatever you want it to be. Um, I'm ready to go over my notes. Let's see. We don't want to be really vague in these comment or in these clauses either. If you're super vague and you try to like word it nicely, that's just holes. That's holes that someone can potentially exploit you around. So it's better to make like a blanket statement that protects you entirely. And then, like I said, you're the one who decides if you enforce that or not, versus the other way around of being like, well, we might. No, be direct. Ba, ba, ba. Let's see. Do you guys have anything to add so far that I should like pop into here before we get into like the spicy kind of side of things?
No, I was just thinking that model story that you said was technically mine, and it did save my ass. You do you need to go? It's okay. I'm not asking you, but oh no, I'm okay.
She's like, I want to help.
But
Yeah, you should talk
that
about
was the
that.
first example. She just couldn't not pick at her hair, and we were doing NBR on her, and she was pulling her hair through the top of the bead, like she was just a picker, and she like came in with it in her hands or something like that. But that was one of them where like it totally could have messed her hair up. You know how that is. Like these suckers don't come out, so I don't even know how she was doing that in the first place. But she did not end up having them for long, but she was totally chill about it. Because of that, she ended up still being my like color client, like I think it just put all the things in line so that it wasn't weird after it didn't go well. Like it really did cover my ass and like it wasn't great. It wasn't a great install. I think I had it way too low and way too high. Like she was my first blonde. There was a lot of things, but if I didn't go over that, I would have felt even worse and probably would have done even worse because I would have been so mental about it. So just knowing you have the coverage was like amazing and saved my ass for sure.
Because like that's the reality, right? Like when you're learning new things and when you're trying out new things, like there's going to be some things that you've never done before that are a really hard install, and you're just like, oh, like
Yeah.
you're probably going to fuck some shit up here and there. So being able to have that like model agreement in place where like, and that they should also know, right?
Yeah.
If you're bringing on people and you're like, oh my God, I'm an expert, and you've taken 1 4-hour class, like, baby, no, you're not, right? So, like, they deserve to know just as much right out the gate. And when they read through that, and it's like, hey, here's all the things that could happen. If X happens, I want you to do Y. And like having all that ahead of time, that client has the transparency to know what they're getting into. chances are the people that we have in for models are going to be people that we know or we've worked with for a while or already was a color client or something like that, you know? But if they're not, if they're a total stranger, they have that available to open up to conversation, be like, hey, I see where it says X, Y, and Z. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? And at that point, you're like, yeah, sure. Talk about it like a real person and just give them the opportunity to like have a conversation around it. That's kind of where we go back to the whole like, if you make it weird, it'll be weird, right? Like, let people ask questions. Open that up to be like, if you see anything in here that just doesn't make sense or it seems weird, like, please let me know. I know some things can be weird. So, like, please just let us know, right? So that's where that comes in to big play. So on the spicier side of things, here's a story of how contracts saved our ass last week. So recently had a new topper install. And this client, right out the gate, she was really adamant that she wanted to try a semi-permanent piece. She had worn clip-in toppers for some time and was just like not having the results that she wanted. She wanted to be able to wake up with something. However, this client, right out the gate, I knew she was borderline too much hair for the method. Now, she had our crown point beadwork and that is, I mean, all hair loss, all beadwork. You know, you can have too much hair for a certain thing, but extra so in the terms of uh, the toppers. So anyway, I had explained to her during our consultation, I was like, well, hey, here's the thing. You technically have too much hair for this. So if you decide that, you know, it's really something you want to try, really something that you want to like give a go about, that's fine. I'm willing to experiment on it. However, you need to know going in, this is going to be a lot more work than I advertise it online. I'm technically advertising to people with half of your density, like at the most, let alone like it's going to be more time pulling through, more time installing, more time, more of a time commitment like to her at home, like all kinds of things, right? She was like, totally get it. I want to try. Cool. It's like, if you're willing, I'm willing. So we come in, she has her install during that time. It took us probably, I don't know, 3 times more time than it took to integrate her, at least double, if not more. To like integrate her natural hair through our topper. Okay. At that point in time, she had asked, like, hey, does it usually take this long? I said, no. But remember what we talked about during your consultation. This is a lot more of a time commitment. Your density makes blah, blah, blah. We have rehashed everything, right? So, this is where communication and home maintenance and contracts all mesh together. You have to have all three of these things, or like you're really setting yourself up for failure. So we had communicated it thoroughly, both in her consultation, in the contract, and in her actual appointment that, like, this is going to be a lot of work. You need to make sure you're integrating your hair back through this piece at least twice a day. I know it says like 1 to 2, you're 2. You are in the 2 category at least twice a day. More than that, even better. Otherwise, what's going to happen is your hair going to tangle all the way up. It's going to turn into a whole thing under here. She was like, got it. Promise. Well, I'll have you know, the instructions were not followed. They were lied about, that they were followed. So while I was on vacation, she had to come in and have a bit of a moment with the girls. You guys talk a little bit about how that went.
A moment for sure.
You know,
It's still a bit
was
traumatizing
It
if you
was
can't tell.
traumatizing. Okay, first of all, she was in here 20 minutes before her appointment. Like, we come in and turn the lights on, get it all ready and set, and she scared the shit out of us because she was sitting right here, like, "Oh, hi, Mom." We're like,
Mhm.
so that was really fun. But it was, I mean, it was the same thing we always see when people do not pull their hair through. And had gone over it multiple times of like, okay, well, maybe it's this. And when we pull them through, we start in the center because your hair's there first and like all of those things. And it's kind of like maybe a week after she decided she needed to try to follow those rules slash directions. It's not a rule because listen, if you want to mess your stuff up, we're gonna tell you how not to first, but you know, everybody has
Free will.
yeah, free will. So we sat there and we pulled, and it took us a while to pull through, but we got it as good as we can because there's only so much you can do while it's still attached, and I had a full day. So we got it pulled through, honestly, pretty damn good.
Yeah.
It looked great, and she left, and the next morning she's calling, and all the things we had already talked about. It's just like, okay, well, like if you're not gonna listen, then we need to do another option. Like, I don't understand why you don't just be honest about it. But people do that. And they also think you never talk to your people you work with. So just read between the lines and trust the vibe because she was saying that she was doing all the things, but she was not. So that was a pull through. I think you're up.
God.
Mind you, when this whole thing came back, they made sure to really like, hey, we really need to make sure we're doing that whole pull through, right? She was like, yeah, totally, twice a day. That's what I've been doing. And they're like, yeah, keep on that then. Okay. So then
Around. Hold on. Come around. Let me dance. I'll do.
Then came the full day with a whole new full maintenance.
First
everything.
move up.
Already prepping myself, but didn't know what I was stepping into. It was a lot. I'm still recovering. I'm still trying to breathe.
This was her first
I don't know
big,
where to
big girl thing.
I was by myself, guys, but we made it through. So we started at 9 a.m. I didn't get done detangling till 1 p.m. that same day. And I think I was out of here by 4 p.m. But it was hard as a rock. Like we could have thrown it and knocked you out. Hard as a rock. And completely ended up having to cut some of it out because it was not savable at all. And being able to show her that in the mirror, I think really is what did it for her. And she was shocked, I don't know why, but she was very shocked.
And
Get out of there.
I was just thinking about the contract. Maybe we should put the amount of times you can call us in there.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Because I had people like almost dying in my
Formal
family,
request.
and they do not call that way. Like, I don't even know. That was
Moral of the story is sometimes people are going to be a little cuckoo.
just
Okay.
out there.
So, as the professional, not only is it your job to be the calm in that storm, right? It's also your job to figure out how you can rectify that situation and like make it right, but also hold to your standards and make sure that shit's not getting real weird, right? So in this case, what happened was thankfully we had communicated this multiple times. So I talked to her the day before she was in with Haley and she was kind of panicking. She was like, I feel like it's just really, tangled up in there. And I just don't know how that happened. So I was like, oh, really? How many times have you been pulling through every day? And she was like, well, like probably once a day. I'm like, okay, got it. So at that point, I was like, yeah, okay, well, you do remember that we really talked about how important it was to pull through twice a day and how that was going to be, real big on that. And she was like, yeah, I know. I don't know why I stopped. I did for the first couple days and then I just stopped. That was totally my fault. And it was my communication that she was like, you're right. Like, I fucked up. And it was like, hey, that's cool. Like, I was like, listen, girl, I get it. Like, it's a lot of work. Like, I pulled it through on that first day and it took a while, right? This is a lot for you to handle every day. You also have little kids and you have a life. And at some point we have to like realize and like take a look around like, did this give you what you wanted out of this install? Right. And we talked about all this on the day of her consultation where I was like, hey, worst case scenario, if it's just not for you, we just make it a clip in piece and it's fine. Right. So at this like call, I was like, I think it's time to kind of like rehash and see like, was this really what you were searching for? Or like this piece blends beautifully. It's a great like option to have. But what if we just go ahead and sew those clips to it and make it an option where you can take off and on and you don't have to have the daily maintenance? And she was like, yes, that's what I need. And sometimes like it's okay to let people try things as long as you don't think that there's going to be any kind of like major damage involved. Like hindsight, I probably would not take on another client like this. Like if it was something where I think she had too much hair, I'd be like, you know what? No, my answer is no. But in that consultation, she really seemed open. She seems like she was totally willing to do all the work. Unfortunately, sometimes things just change, and sometimes people just don't know really what they don't know, right? So thankfully, we were able to switch that around pretty quickly. Other than taking a little density out where that like one little tangle was, nothing crazy. Just got a little bit of a layery situation. Everything was fine. There was no damage.
Straight still.
Right.
A little dry under there, but that was about the biggest thing.
Yeah, had no, like you said, no real shed, right? Like,
Barely. I mean, the normal amount you see in a brush every day.
yeah. So all in all, we were able to stop that before it turned into something crazy. Now, could we have been like, oh, give it another go, try again. Let's give it one more maintenance schedule. Maybe you'll get it. Sure. But that's not logical. Like, that's not integral for us. And like, if she couldn't handle it through those 4 weeks, she was having lots of issues, calling us basically constantly panicking. Like, that's not good for that person's psyche, right? So I'm not in the business of taking people's money. I'm in the business of making people feel better about themselves. And at the end of the day, she wasn't feeling better about herself by wearing the piece. So it's a lose-lose, right? So we made sure that she got something like that she would actually prefer. We sewed clips on the piece for her. She can take it home. Now she can wear it whenever she wants, get the confidence boost if she wants, and not have the maintenance. So it worked out great.
When in the end,
But it was just a little scary in the beginning. So Haley is actually going to post those pictures in our group so you can see what those look like. You can kind of see her initial before and afters, and then see what the situation looked like afterwards. Just if nothing else, to be able to use for your clients, like if you are doing the methodology. I think sometimes you tell people, hey, make sure you're pulling your hair through because X, Y, or Z could happen. And they're like, yeah, sure, okay. Show them this picture and be like, do you want your hair to look like this? Because if you don't, pull your shit through. Okay. Use it as a fear factor. I think it'll be fine.
a fear factor.
Right. Another great example we have, we had another client that habitually could not show up on time to save her life. And I feel like this is one that happens a lot, right? You just have those people that are like habitually late, and then every single time they're just a little later and a little later until you're like, dude, you're an hour or two late. Okay, so this client in particular showed up on time to her first. Wait, no,
She was
she was late to her initial install. Actually, she got lost.
A lot.
Fair,
Often.
often.
Dragons kidnapped her a lot.
Yes, and her stories kept getting weirder and weirder every single time. We were like, "Man, I hate when dragons kidnap me." She didn't actually use that, but like it was a matter of time.
Close.
One time a cat died, and then he was alive a couple weeks later when she was talking about him. We were like, "Wait, I thought that cat was dead. We just didn't touch it. Whatever." But those kind of situations had happened quite a bit, to the extent that we were just like, okay, here's our policy, here's what we're going to do. So for instance, she, I think on her second time late, the first one, new install day, we were like, weird, she's lost. We're like, hey, you never been here before, here's your gimme. Second time she comes, she had some kind of like traffic crisis. We were like, got it. Okay, fine. Third time she's late and she has some other kind of crisis. I think she like blew a tire on the interstate or something. And we were like, okay, totally understand. Mind you, the person is so sweet, right? Like she just comes off as like so sweet. But like at a certain point, you have to ask yourself, wait, is she being sweet to be manipulative? Or is she just like the biggest shit magnet on the planet? Either way, that can't be your problem. Okay. So not only was she super late to that third appointment, but then she stayed for an extra hour while the girls were trying to clean up, just yapping about politics and trying to like see who everybody was voting for and just like some things, right? That we were just like, what in the world? Okay. So now not only is she holding my stylist back the time that it took to just do the service, right? Now she won't leave.
Last appointment of the day, by the way, like scheduled her at 4:30, but she'd get here around 5:30. So we'd be here until like 9:30, just like at the door waiting for her to walk out of the door we have open.
Literally at the door.
Like, please, please, thank you so much and leave now.
Which a lot of the times, like, especially a stylist, that person that's like chronically late, you're like, it's fine. I'll just put her at the end of my day so I don't run behind with any of my other clients. How many people have done that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, haven't we all? Except now you're not running late for your clients. Now you're running late for your family. Now you're running late for the dinner plans you were supposed to do with your husband, boyfriend, best friend, whoever, right? Like now you're running late for you. So like that really doesn't fix anything here. So that was something that I was like, guys, we gotta about this. So I sent her a message. I was like, hey, here's what's going on. It seems like we have a habitual late kind of thing per our policy. This is our rules. If you're late to your next appointment by more than 10 minutes, you will be charged a late fee, or you'll be counted as a no-show, and we just won't be doing your appointment period. If you're past the 15-minute mark, my stylist is going to leave and go home. So at that point, I think there was like one incident where she actually showed up on time.
And actually left on
That
time
was
too.
the first time after we charged her the late policy and all that stuff. I think because she didn't show up the last time. It was the morning of. I get here about 30 minutes early to set up and whatever.
Yep.
And she texted me like 5 minutes before her appointment time and said she couldn't make it because the ocean flooded the highway that day. And
Was that when the cat died? I think that's when the cat died.
maybe
No, those were two separate ones.
Or was that the tire?
Unfortunately, yeah.
There was a
great
lot.
question, Brie.
Okay.
I
Listen,
mean,
we
we
were all-
probably we got through what a year's
Yeah.
worth of a topper. with her.
literally every single appointment. Every single appointment. So there was a lot of things. Anyway, it was excuse after excuse. Eventually, we got to the point where we would make her prepay 100% before her next appointment. Eventually, that became something that she didn't even really care about, and she would still like just not respect the time or cancel last minute or whatever. So, like at a certain point, you're like, okay, maybe she is like just God's most hated person, you know? Like who knows? Maybe she just has the luck of like no one. But that like literally couldn't be our thing. So thankfully we were able to talk her into like, I mean, I enforced every policy known to man. And I finally just kind of like had the come to Jesus with her to be like, listen, we can't keep doing this. So I think the best course of action is for you to sew clips on your piece and then you can still use it. Otherwise, like we're just kind of no longer the salon for you. So she decided to go the route, sew the clips on and just, you know, go for it. But that was again a conversation where we were like, it looks like the maintenance side of things is really where it's just very hard for you to handle the thing. Totally understand. Can we do this? And then it just is a thing, right? Last example on a like refund chargeback.
This is spicy. This is really the one that taught me like, oh no, you have to have that. Like you have to have it.
Why contracts are important, part 3. So this was, I think this was your first topper model, right? Like solo topper model?
Oh wait, I thought we were talking about Pinland.
No, not that one.
That's the one that taught me.
Well,
What are
that
you
too.
talking about?
Curly topper.
No, this
Maybe
one
we
is
have 4
the
stories.
so bad.
So, she was Ariana's first topper client, wanted curls. So we were like, bet. Ordered the topper to be curly, which she was like, yes, that looks great. We get it. We install it. She was like, I kind of hate that. And we were like,
Hated it. Fully hated it.
Got
It's
it.
like, well, it's not doing it by itself. And it's like anyone who has curls knows 90% of the time it ain't gonna just do it. Like you have to put some effort in.
which we said in the consultation, like I was there for the consultation. I was part of it. I know everything that went on, right? Like I led half of it because she was still learning.
No.
So We talked about specifically like home care. Like we talked about what would be important, what you're going to have to do to make those curls match up. Like this curl is going to be slightly different than your curl because that's just how things work. But your curl will integrate through. So you do a little this. Walked her through step by step during the actual install. Did it again. So she was adamant. She just didn't like the curl, wanted us to try to reperm it. At that point, I was like, we can try that, but it's probably going to burn the piece. Like, I will do my absolute best for that not to take place, but it probably will. And it did. And then
It
that,
turned green.
so then we had to recolor. It was like so much time, so much money, so much color into this piece. And then we install it, and it's more things she doesn't love. Now, could that have been worked around and handled in a way? Maybe we just ordered her another piece. Yes. The dividing line of me saying, here's your money, please never come back, was the part where I specifically had said, hey, this is actually why we created a model contract separately, was because of this situation. I communicated in that very first situation, hey, this is Ariana's first one of these. If you have any kind of problems, please come to me. Please ask your questions to me. She is still learning. We can group chat about it if you would like, but any issues, I'm your girl, right? We'll figure it out. We'll help game plan. She'll be your
I
stylist.
didn't even have my own chair yet. Like I'm still fresh.
Yes.
Fresh.
Okay. So that would not take place. She would text her being a total bitch. And then when she would send me screenshots and be like, hey, can you message her? She seemed like, I don't know what to say to this.
She
Or
wanted
like,
her money back. I didn't have her money. I did not have your money back.
well, and it
Not-
started out with just like issues and questions and styling things that she was just like digging at her. And then I'd be like, hey, heard you had some questions. Can I hop on a call and talk to you about it? No. Okay. You want to shoot me those things?
No, I don't want to just do. I want to talk to Ariana.
Okay.
Girl, I don't got nothing for you.
So then it came to the part where she's like all 10 shades of pissed and trying to tell her that she hasn't given her enough support and like she feels lied to and duped and da 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 da. I was like,
It was crazy.
first of all, we had a conversation. I was there, and so we talk about all this. And I ended up getting on the phone and I was like, hey, first of all, you're not going to talk to my stylist like that. Like big fat, no. You're not going to bully her. And then when I would get on the phone with her, she was so understanding, so sweet, so this and that. Everything was great. And then she'd try to push her around and manipulate her. But then when I would be like, oh, well, what about this? Oh, Brie, that's a great idea. Literally, I made the text that she would send first that said the exact same thing.
Not one word.
She would fight with her, and I would say verbatim the exact same shit. And she'd be like, that's the best idea I've ever heard. Oh my gosh. No. So, there wasn't many times of that before I was like, this is done. She was purposely like attacking her for what fucking reason I couldn't understand. So I just hopped on the phone with her and I was like, listen, here's the deal. We're not going to be doing this. I will be refunding you your money, minus your deposit. And would you like your tip back or can she keep that?
Actually, I think you were so irritated. You gave her deposit. You gave it all.
I think I did. I was
You
just like,
did.
take all your money
Yeah.
on the basis that you actually never come back
Mhm.
ever again. And she was like, what? I can't come back to get my color done?
No.
No, you can't because you're fucking psycho. I didn't say that, but I wanted to.
That was
Um,
terrible.
So that was a whole other thing. But
Granny works with this lady. And Granny was the one that was like, no.
it's always the
I
same.
told Granny I love you. No more. You can't do any more secure. I said, or if you don't like them, don't do it. Because after I told her what went down, she was like, oh yeah, she's like that. Granny,
We don't recommend those.
like I know I'm strong, but damn. Too much.
So yeah, I would like everybody, if you don't have a contract, if you're listening to this and you don't have a solid contract in place, you gotta have a contract. Holy shit. Work one up. Even if you get the baseline on ChatGPT and then bring it to your lawyer to be like, hey, does this look okay? Full disclosure, that's 100% what I did. I worked up my entire contract off there. I took it to the lawyer that I just have on retainer and was like, hey, Does this look okay? Everything with that? What should I change? What should I not change? Here's what I want it to read like. Here's what I want it to protect me from. Here's the insurance that I have. La la la. Make it happen. She was like, here's a couple things to change. You're good. Here's that. Lovely. So highly recommend doing that. If you do have a contract in place, go through it and like honestly put yourself in like a shit bag kind of mindset. I know that sounds wild, but go through your contract and see if you were a bad guy, a just dick bag of a human, what you could get away with. That isn't in writing. Does it have all your policies? Does it have everything in place? And vice versa, put yourself in the shoes of a client. If that client was coming in, would they feel protected? And maybe this is something you have a friend or a family member read through this and just be like, hey, if you were coming into my salon, would you feel really comfortable signing this? If not, ask them what makes them not feel comfy. Maybe it needs reworded. Maybe it just needs to be a little more clear. Or maybe it's something that, just needs like readjusted inside your contract to make that really feel right. But don't be afraid to reach out to a couple people and ask those questions. I think that's really important. But look over your contracts, and if you need any help, please reach out. Feel free to post in the community. Next week, we're going to be talking all about home maintenance care and really how that can change the face of everything. We're going to be going through our home maintenance care plan for our like hair loss guests and what's really important in each piece of that. I will show you guys my PDF that I have for each individual thing. We'll go through that pretty quick and I'll be able to give you guys that as a resource.
We call it the hair Bible.
You should
It
pull
is
out the little
just-
card
Piece
too.
of piece.
It really
Yeah.
is amazing. It really is.
So we'll go through all of that and how we really make that an experience in itself for our guests on our next call. And I'm really excited for that too. But do you guys have anything to add to our little group chat today?
I don't think so. She knows what she's talking about.
Trust
Tell me, trust her. She knows, and we have seen we've learned our lessons the hard way sometimes, everything is in place for a reason.
Unfortunately.
And coming from someone who did work through the hard stuff first, maybe just cover your ass now. Hear me out.
Sometimes we have to learn the hard way. And if you want to share your nightmare contract story on the page,
Give us a
you know what?
make
We're
a
all
video.
friends here.
Yes, let's chat. Make a little chat. Pretend you're talking to us because we want to know the tea.
We
And
can-
examples because this happens to everyone, right?
And I think this is something that like people don't talk about in this industry a lot is like those situations because it feels like a hit. It feels like a gut punch when somebody does a chargeback or does like a whatever. You're like, oh my God, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So if you feel confident sharing your story, we would love to hear it on there just so other people in this community can hear it and know that they're not alone. If you need help navigating situations like that, or if you have something you're currently working through, I'd love to help. We're here to help any way we can. So there is that for today. If you have any questions, let us know. Feel free to post in the feed. And next week, I'm super excited to talk all about home maintenance care. So, shoot-a-doo.